So the thumbnail of this video promised that there is a challenge, and yeah, that is, if you are a world record holder in Dawnsbury Days at the end of the month, this is April 2025, so if you are the world record holder in any of the 4 categories that currently exist, you will get a free copy of Dawnsbury Days plus the DLC so that you can give it to a friend. So that's the challenge. The rest of this video is a guide to how to speedrun this game, and also hopefully something to encourage you to give it a shot, because currently only one category actually has a run submitted. So simply recording yourself doing a casual playthrough on the lowest difficulty could get you a free copy if nobody else submits. But really, the joy of speedrunning is in racing against yourself and trying to beat yourself and become the best version of you at doing something. So if you really like Pathfinder and you want to give playing Pathfinder in a more competitive capacity a shot, I think this is a great way to do it. Now, with that being said, I'm going to start getting into the details. Okay, so this is what Dawnsbury Days looks like in the menu, and there are going to be a lot of times you have to evaluate safety versus speed and choice versus speed. And so this is the party that I found to work for me on hard. Now, if you're going to an easier difficulty, you may want to swap out the cleric for another fighter. If you're going on to insane difficulty, well, you may want to swap out some of the spell prep in the cleric. And there are various things you can do to try and be fast but still more consistent. And I'm just going to start by going over what settings you should use, because some stuff does not matter. Like this only matters if you're playing the DLC. In terms of controls, you want to make sure that these 3 things are checked. Ask to take reactions takes a ton of time, and 90% of the time you're just going to click yes without reading it because it's faster to not think. Automatically ending your turn means that you don't need to press the E key to end your turn every time. Confirm unusual actions waste time, because if you're passing turn with actions remaining, which you will need to do in one of the encounters, this then has that take more key presses, which is bad. So these are 3 things that I say check off. In terms of interface, fast mode. Yep. I think this is all pretty self-explanatory of why you'd want it. This is more visual, especially with square grid. But yeah, fast mode is important. I don't think I need to explain why shortening animation time is good for a speedrun. In house rules, this is where you start to get a bit more nuanced, but not really. So I'm playing on hard because that's just the category I prefer to run. Characters don't drop items when knocked out. This is helpful for if a fighter gets knocked out, you heal them. That is like the time this comes up. But yeah, all these are basically things that allow you to be stronger and remove bad stuff from your hit bar. This doesn't matter unless you're like playing DLC and have kineticist, neither of which are true. This rule here is the one that you can actually debate one way or the other. So allies don't provide self-cover to enemies. We only have one character that can even make a ranged attack, which is Safi. So you'd think unchecking this would mean enemies are now applying cover to other enemies. So this means that all of the enemy archers now are needing to move to get clear shots. So that's a good thing, right? I don't think so. And my reasoning for that is the animation time of shooting is faster than the animation time of moving. And the fights with archers are not where this party struggles, I'll tell you that much. And so then system stuff, this is just like a bunch of debug type things. You're not allowed to cheat, so like, yeah. In terms of legal mods, anything that is visual only is allowed, but if it affects the mechanics of the game, it is then not allowed, just that way, like, I don't need to go and evaluate every single thing for if it's game breaking. And 3 fighters is gonna be like probably the best strategy, even with mods. And the reason for that, looking at these fighter builds here, because they're going to be identical, you are going to want to make pre-mades and then have it all the way built to level 4. The inventory only matters at level 1. But Here's what I did for the stat array. Both fighters are identical. So I dropped them in with max strength because we're going to use a reach weapon, constitution second highest because they're not getting healed, so they need to have enough health to consistently beat these fights down. The 1 pip in wisdom is for saving throws, initiative rolls, and also there is a time in the game where you need to make a religion check. There's one moment where you need to make a religion check that could matter. That makes it better than intelligence or charisma, which will never matter. And so again, we have religion trained. You may make a demoralized check eventually, but like this skill doesn't matter at all. In fact, probably is better as acrobatics, but like, who cares? So orc ferocity, it gives you one more turn of being alive, which can be one more turn that you get to kill the other guy, which means that it could win you a fight. And that makes it better than the other things, I think, in terms of equivalent. Yeah, +1 bonus saving throws against cantrip spells, but like, come on. This is like, yeah, let's just be honest. Sudden charge, because there are a lot of times when you're going to have this cheat out a strike on turn 1, and that is going to be incredibly good. Intimidating strike for all those moments that you're all standing around a boss and swinging at it until it dies. Swipe is here because in the final act of the game, there are a couple fights where swipe speeds things up, where I'm not sure knockdown would. But that's that. And so that is also true of this build here. Everything that I just said, also here, I just changed out the artwork, with my reasoning being, I want to make sure I know which character is which, because that way when I put buff spells on them, I'm not playing a memory shell game of who has the magic weapon again. I just know. And for the fighters, I am cheaping out on their equipment as much as I can. Chainmail armor, because it is cheap and it's medium armor. So I'm only spending 8 gold per fighter. And then this fighter is playing an elf. And the reason I'm having the first slot character be an elf to move faster is your character in slot 1 spawns where Anacosta does, who is normally a sorcerer, and thus she spawns in the back of the party in every fight. So as such, I made a pure elf fighter so I can run at stuff more efficiently. And Demon Bane Warrior because there are a lot of demons in Chapter 3. I gave you 9 Assault over Intimidating Strike because if one of the other marshals got off Intimidating Strike, selling you 9 Assault looks a lot better. And Swipe is just pretty good. Inventory-wise, I only have level 1 built, but you use a Maul over a Reach weapon, and the reason is, skeletons exist. You can experiment with running another Reach weapon in this character slot, but generally, I like having a bludgeoning weapon in here, and it doesn't make sense to go Gnome Flick Mace, which is the only bludgeoning Reach weapon in the game. Yeah. Then we also have Cleric, which is War Priest. This is pre-remaster, so Charisma is tied to how many heals you get. I am not bringing a Bard because Bard would have a lot of menuing involved. And having a strength-based Cleric will let you still just like punch things with a D6, and that can get some nice last hits. And a lot of the other abilities here I think are pretty self-explanatory. You're going to get Healing Hands because it doesn't take any button presses to utilize. Holy Castigation because there are going to be a lot of demons in Chapter 3, and we don't have an option to take it right at Chapter 3, so we're taking it Chapter 2. And for level 4, we're taking Abundant Spellcasting, so that way we can get a Blood Vendetta in here as well as enough Bone Shakers to have all these single target fights in that late game be knocked prone. Because when enemy is prone in this game, their AI tells them to stand up, and then all of our fighters kill them, basically. Also, if you decide to go more charisma-oriented for more healing, never dump your wisdom below 14, because it is very important that if you look at your prepared spells, Daze should do at least 2 damage when you are in Chapter 3. And like every chapter, you want Daze to be doing at least 2 damage. So that way, if somebody normal succeeds their save, it does 1 damage. And 1 damage is enough to kill an orc after they're at 1 HP from ferocity. This is one of the more absurd techs, but it is a 60-foot range ability that does 1 damage. And that's all you need from it. It's also healing font, so you got all these slots of heal down here. And healing is basically your way of speeding up all the fights against demons, all the fights against undead, which there are several of. And it's also your backup strat against, well, bad RNG. And so everything else I'll need to talk about once we're actually in the game. So yeah. And I'm going to be going over keyboard shortcuts as we go. For example, Q skip cutscene. And you can see, as soon as that cutscene plays,
and if you encounter,
you can press Q. And timing starts as soon as you go into the first level, I'm pretty sure. I'll need to double check the timing requirements. But basically, how the keyboard shortcuts work is you can press 2 to activate sudden charge, 1 to activate maul, but I don't have target in range, so it's not letting me. But if I double click to move, and I have a habit of double tapping 1 when I want a normal strike.
All threats eliminated. I detect no more enemies in the area.
Yeah, you can also queue through that cutscene and then get to the next level. Also, we're not going to be looking at the inventory very much. I'll just point out when it is beneficial to look at the inventory.
Wait.
And so against this fight, we just have this kobold here. As long as you have one of the fighters go first, you can very easily situation them in here. My hands fell off the keys for a moment, but you can then get a flank off. And then very quickly blast them down with reactor strikes. And you can see all the fighters are getting value. And honestly, I don't need you to be there. So I'm just going to let the fighters do their thing. And this is something you do if a character's just like out of position. You just have them pass their turn to get to turns that matter faster. And so if you're going after that guy up there, you need to stride and then sudden charge. Otherwise, you don't have the movement speed, no matter which character you have. It's going to be close, but you never have the movement speed required. Now, I did that a little too early, so everybody kind of got up there. So now the fight just became a lot scarier. But this is why we have a cleric who can punch. But this is why we have Orc Ferocity, so that way I can make sure to survive that kind of thing. I'm just gonna free action Bone Shaker. Do not slide. Try to get him. Nope. Try to get him. Nope. Yeah. That was a pretty poor fight, but that was still fine. And that is why you have this Scroll of Bone Shaker here. I'm just looking at the inventory to show you that there are backups here. And I skipped out on the equipment for everybody else to buy 2 Scrolls of Bone Shaker as soon as the adventure started. And you don't manage your inventory at this point. There is a spot up ahead where it is more beneficial to time changing around your inventory.
I have a bad feeling.
So against this fight, you have a bunch of zombies which have new art, and the Skull Champion which has new art. And this is where I'm going to drop my first magic weapon. I'm going to drop it on Tokdar. And I kind of got mildly unlucky with how the initiatives worked out, but should be fine. Yeah, all the zombies are now going to crawl in, and Safi can then cast a spell for reaction heal. For the Golden Candelabra, you're basically just going to touch it immediately. And then you can just like walk down here because that's where the next enemies are going to spawn. You can again throw a magic weapon on Tokdar. This is where you manage your inventory however you want it. And you can see the fighters have absolutely no problem dispatching the normal rats. And I'm also going to have Talkdar kind of hang out down here.
Hiya.
And you can see this Celestial Orb does have champion reactions, so I'm going to actually just walk down here because it is there, and so I can go ahead and try to trip. Didn't work out. None of that worked out, but I'm just going to turn here. Retch, strike. Nope. Yeah, I'm just getting really unlucky. This is really unfortunate. You don't normally lose a run here, because, like, yeah, those hits should be happening. But I can use a Cleric Punch, probably. They're at 1 HP, I should have dazed, but I didn't look at the HP before pressing all the buttons. This is what would be a bad run. For me, I'd reset here. For a new person, I'd recommend play out more of your runs than you think you should. I'm actually going to walk back, so that way I can make sure that I get off my reactive strikes. Wait, they stepped? Aren't they mindless? I'll need to talk to the dev about that. Because I think I don't know how the AI works anymore. Because it did get a few changes in the patches. But yeah, this is a very scary run of this fight. But hey, got through it.
So
You still are not checking inventory yet. You do have +1 items in your inventory at this time, but I generally do not think it is worth going for.
Oh no.
So I'm going to just go over here, cast a spell magic weapon onto you. And I'm going to have you run up to here and start threatening there. And generally, you want to send all your unit pressure up to the north part of the map, because these kobolds down here are not going to be a threat, and one fighter can take care of them by himself. And then you just end turn here, and turn here.
Thank you.
Yeah. I sudden charge too early because I'm not as familiar with the exact distances of things anymore. Yeah, generally the longer you spend thinking, the more you should just be pressing a button, even if it's not the best option. You just kind of need to have faith that the builds are good enough where you can get away with some suboptimal choices. Okay, so there's another fight that is at least mildly interesting, because here the male characters are fast asleep and are not having their weapon or armor, so they're basically useless. And I'm just not going to worry about them, because with these two fighters alone, you should be able to bully the hell out of this encounter. So you can just click sudden charge on the elf, and just kind of get into a spot where you can strike any of them, and just kind of bash them to death. Same thing goes with this orc. You just start striking them out.
There's no time to put on my armor.
You just end your turn, end your turn.
I should at least pick up my weapon, even if it will cost me an action.
It does look scary sometimes, but then everything just kind of disappears very quickly, and it's all fine.
Welcome, Dog.
Okay, and this is another very scary fight. Chapter 2 has a lot of the very big early game run killers. And so this fight has a lot of stuff you need to consider. it has the elemental gate, which will continually spawn enemies you need to kill. So you want to get over to the right side as fast as possible. But if you just run through everybody, there's a good chance your run dies from somebody dying, and not spending your multi-attack penalty to actually deal with threats means that you are going to be very behind and likely have to waste a bunch of time and resources recovering, healing, and then that's not killing people. So generally, you want to find a combination of attacking and running over to the right side of the map. However, running forward with just the elf means that you're going to get ganged up on and die probably. So the correct play here is to actually restart encounter very quickly to get a better lineup and initiative. Crazy, I know, but like that is something that you might want to consider. Because you are allowed to restart encounters for good initiative RNG. This isn't something I've really thoroughly implemented, but it is an option and it's pretty cool as a piece of tech. And so now that I have Scarlet and Talkdar coming in right after, it just looks like I'm not going to have a magic weapon throughout this unless I use a delay. I like to hang out back here and start swatting at their mage characters. And I forgot I don't have the move speed of the elf. I'm actually going to delay until after Sanctum. So I can use this scroll and walk forward. Then I can walk forward. I can sudden charge. I can go here. And I can strike. There we go. Just gonna make sure that I don't lose Talkdar here. Okay, Frosty is procced. And so with that Frosty proc, I know exactly what's gonna happen to that guy.
1,500 stars, 1,500 lives.
And so I can just waste all my time doing elemental gate stuff. I delayed. God damn it. But that is where you would actually want to throw out a daze, because that is an orc. There's another encounter that is very weird. So this is the escape room. And so there are 5 keys hidden in this room. And you need to find 4 of them in order to escape. So there are these doors here where you need to have a key in your character's hand and use an action to unlock a lock. There is a secret passageway down here that loops up and around, but that takes a long time for any character to walk through, and is basically only viable if you're confident in your Seek roll RNG and you have a monk. But it is not viable to bring a monk over a fighter because of how good Reactive Strike is at punishing the amount of mages and archers in this campaign. As well as, you know, just being overtuned pre-remaster. So what I like to do is send one of the polearm fighters up here, open this door, you see 4 zombies. From there, you just end your turn. Okay. Now, this character has a very fast move speed. So what I like to do is go here, inventory, drop them all, interaction, open this.
That's probably a key.
Then I'll
to
run
the
down
exit
here
double door.
because the
You
top
must
2
find
chests
the
are
others
mimic.
and use all 4.
Shut the hell up. The top 2 chests are mimics, but the bottom 2 chests always have the key. That is not RNG, it is just guaranteed. So now on Safi, I like to walk here and then end my turn. The reason being, I can then eventually vomit out a heal. And then I walk 2 times, open here. I can open this to get another key in the hand, and I can use an unlock action there. Use a 3-action heal. And start walking over to this chest. Unlock here, you now have nothing left to do. You now have nothing left to do. Inventory, drop, open, there. Start running to the door. You go in, inventory, drop, open, go, go. You have nothing left to do. You have nothing left to do. You walk over to the door, unlock. And you pass your turn. You walk, and I'm just barely out of range. Fine, I guess I need to do all these. And we're out.
Doors are...
That was messy, but you can see the idea there. And you're still not accessing inventory yet. We're going to wait till level 3 to do inventory managements.
Forest.
All right, so this setup of this encounter is you need to beat up all the enemies in these 4 rooms and touch the pedestals within. So behind this door, there's a gargoyle. Behind this door, there's some rats. Behind this door, there's some snakes. And behind this door, there's a skeletal champion. That is just what's behind the doors. It's not RNG. The skeleton, or not the skeleton, but the gargoyle is the scariest one in terms of RNG checks. The skeleton has reactive strike. So you want to send your bludgeon character down to the skeleton, and you're going to want to beat the shit out of this guy with somebody that has extra damage from magic weapon. So I'm going to slap a magic weapon on Tokdar and get ready to deal with some rats. And as I said, I'm getting ready to deal with some rats. Because they're going to rock up to me, so I'm going to get to reactive strike them. I'm going to start dealing with the skeleton over here. It's kind of risky to fight this many different battles at once, but I have faith. I'm going to try and tumble through. Get a flanking off. Yeah, that's why you bring them all. I'm then going to touch that and start running over to the next room. Because I know you can deal with that and then start running over to the next room as well. You can touch that and start running over to the next room. You can open up this, let the snakes start getting reactive striked. This can get touched, and then I can sudden charge. Hopefully I can get in there. Yep. That lets me get a strike off. Then I can run in here, get a touch off. Yeah. That is how you do that encounter, and that felt very nice. I might start implementing that 3-room strat. The run is not perfectly optimized. This is the point where you look at your inventory for the first time, because, oh my god, you have so much stuff. And so what you do is you click on the rune section, and you give everybody cold iron. And from here, you can then just, like, start dragging stuff into the selling section, because that's faster than doing any other menuing. And you can drag +1s onto everybody. And that's generally all you're going to use the shop for. You're going to do this, and you're going to buy striking runes in Chapter 4. And just doing this so that you don't need to menu. There is actually a rapier. Because this is the first time I'm really implementing the, This is save file 1. That's weird. Dawnsbury Days, Speedrun, continue this. Yeah. There was a rapier in the first part of the inventory. That may be a way that people do that. I haven't fully optimized the shops for this version, which will be the release version when the video comes out. But yeah, this is generally all you're going to use your inventory for. We're going to get striking weapons next shop. So, Venture Path.
We killed.
Again, the town square. And there are now demons everywhere. Demons are weak to cold iron. So, yeah. Getting cold iron is very strong into them. And so, Savvy goes first. So, of course, magic weapon on the character that likes to have magic weapon. Then walk up. This is actually one of the few fights where you can just sudden charge and get directly in everybody's face all at once. I'm just going to start bullying the demon. Because the demon will summon stuff, and that's very annoying. Hit that guy. Go over here. Strike. Strike. So Frosty was just triggered. So I'm going to go run over here, cast a spell, Daze, on the one with Frosty triggered, and die. Just like that. That's why you have all this stuff. Because it punishes orc ferocity.
It's the
And so this encounter, if you're playing it in a normal campaign, the best thing to do is actually camp in this building and then force them to come through this choke point here. But there's a speedrun. We don't have the luxury of taking things slowly. So what you do is you send your fast bludgeoning weapon fighter up the left path to deal with the skeletons and have your normal fighters push through the middle. That's what I like to do. So if I remember right, oh no, I did not remember right. You could just immediately sudden charge there if you are Tok'tar. So I'm actually going to send you right back here, throw up a shield. But it was you that needs the help. Yep, you needed the help. And then I send you over to here, strike. Right, thing I was remembering is after you clear the first one, you then need to go through. And then you have a bunch of fighters in the middle of a line of a bunch of mages and archers. I'm just going to try and soften all of them up, so that way I can 3-action heal. Bang. Oh no, I'm getting crit. Anyway. Grapple time. Oh, I got him. GG's. Okay, so that fighter is dying. This is one of those fights where things get very sketchy. Very often. So ferocity happened and crit fail of fear. Great. That's exactly what you want to see. You're gonna run away, which is fine. I'll let you do that. And I just need to rely on these fighters killing everything before I fail a bunch of death saves. Actually, no, you're useless. Now there's a successful death save. There's basically no time limit for the rest of this encounter. So I can just kind of take my time beating the hell out of everything. Yeah, Temple of the Dawnbringer.
Candelabra is still.
So into this, every character needs to take a stride before they sudden charge in. It's just how it goes. Step. Sudden charge in. Cast a spell, magic weapon. Stride. Stride. Sudden charge.
Abracondaloo.
Yeah, now there's Record Demons, but whatever. They just get reactive strike to death, so nothing matters. Gonna straight up and start punching.
Everyone!
What is that?
Argus moment. And these guys will never actually get to your party. The game says they're trying to steal the candelabra, but like, you can actually just completely leave the candelabra unattended, and you'll see why. Because as soon as they start getting too close to me, they just get destroyed. Bang. Do not change daily prep, go to the sewers. If I remember right, you're never going to get there with the sudden charge. Yep. And there we go. I just failed every single check. I hate this encounter, by the way, because look at how obnoxious this is. The best way to try and figure out where he went is to try and bump into him with your face. So that's what I'm just trying to do now. Yeah, I get fire raid from over there. There's now a blur up, which is going to be really obnoxious. Like that, this grease here is basically the, how hard is this fight going to be marker. This time the answer was pretty annoying. Other actions, leap, leap. Just surround him with my fighters. Walk up, cast a spell, heal, 2 action, bang. Daze. He had 1 HP left, so I can just daze him. He does actually drop a +1 greatsword, which is relevant, because you do want to swap that out for the maul at the start of the next chapter. And this is where you get it. So just like note that. Because once the chapter 3 is done, you never see another skeleton for the rest of the game. And you do see some more demons. So you are going to swap in the greatsword and you're going to cold iron it and like everything else. But you can basically do that swap. It's relevant because underwater, piercing weapons do not take a -2 accuracy penalty. And the halberd and greatsword are both piercing weapons. So there you go. So this is a fight that is baiting you. You see how the initiative is? I'm just going to show you why it's bait. So what you want to do is you go, ooh, I can walk in, I can hit, and I probably hit again, and then you die. On average, you just die here. Come on, show me why. Okay, I'm not getting punished this time. Weird. Yeah, it's very risky to just run in there. This is an encounter where I always have an eye on my tracker. Well, so that's what happens when you play this fight a little too fast and loose. So we're going to just reset. I'm going to show you the proper strategy. Let your cleric go first. And just slap a magic weapon on somebody of your choice. I'm going to pick Talkdar because Talkdar is my usual choice. Hide behind cover as you walk up. And restart the encounter. Because you walked up with your cleric and that's a mistake. Yep. This is a fight that does frequently end your runs, by the way, if you can't tell. Yeah, force him to walk up here. This is where you will visit your final jump. This is where you swap out your greatsword and everything else, and you can then drag strikings onto the other weapons. After you, of course, drag a bunch of things you don't need out of your inventory, you can then drag striking onto the other thing. And for the hell of it, you should drag striking onto the maul, because it will be relevant eventually. Actually, it may be faster just, like, do that with Cold Iron than do this for the final dash. This may be better. Like, this is the final weapon setup. Go Adventure Path.
I can see.
And now you're never going to look at your inventory again. Yeah, thanks to reach weapons now existing, you can actually... Oh, I forgot that this was the character without a reach weapon, so I'm going to just go back here. This fight is normally scary, but, reach weapons be crazy. And now you're never going to fiddle with magic weapons again. You can just kind of do whatever you want for these next couple encounters, because they're not that rough. These guys have a very low Fortitude DC, so you can go ahead and grapple. And they are mages, so just surrounding them with fighters should be enough to just kill them. Yeah. I said them because now there's two of them. And so you just sudden charge through. Go for the bonks. Oh no, they're summoning elementals. So anyway, you're going to run in with your cleric and you're going to go for a grapple. That's a crit. Hey, will it grapple? You didn't see it, but that's the achievement with my face on it. The answer is yes. That's a new achievement as of this build that says when you successfully grapple 10 times, you get the achievement.
And my part in it is done.
This dialogue will just go on, but you are still allowed to move during it.
I am now gone.
So what I'll do is I'll actually stride twice and then end my turn, because I'll get that guy to come over. And these guys will actually approach eventually if you let them. So I'm just going to rely on that. Yeah, so he's going to approach. And then I can maneuver, grapple, you know how you do it.
And that...
So Heart of Fire, the big important thing to note in Heart of Fire is the actual Heart of Fire avatar likes to float on this pool of lava, so you need to bait the AI out. Also, tends to go first and will drop a gigantic fireball in your entire party, so don't roll low on your reflex saves. That ends my advice for this fight. This does not require you to kill every enemy. It just requires you to kill the main Heart of Fire there. I'm just going to 3-action heal just for the sake of making sure I don't, like, lose. But everybody has a striking weapon, so I should just be able to, like, power through and just have faith that my damage is enough.
Stop!
Yeah, reach reactive strikes just kind of do that to mages, so you can just move on. You are going to be really annoying, Final Dusk. The right pathway is faster to let you get into melee. I'm not going to get into true melee. I know he will move to fireball us better. And you move to the right, so I get to move this way. Then I sudden charge. Thus letting me get behind you and strike you. Well, I should have sun charged after, but this is where you can go for trips, you can go for grapples, go for strikes, I guess, of the reactive kind. Bone Shaker him, try and knock him prone, but doesn't work. Come on, guys. You can do it. Yeah, he's going to come back next round, and I actually know that he will come back on, like, that tile there. So I'm just going to get ready for his ass. Like so. Okay, he's going to walk away, he's going to fireball, but the thing is, you just ate a bunch of reactive strikes from all the fighters in the world, so you die. Yep. And that's the game. So, the speedrun does have quite a few moments where it does get a little scary, but if you learn the hotkeys and you mash like 1, 2 for most of your options, menu with your mouse for the rest of them, you can get very fast at playing this game. Like, the tutorial for how to speedrun it is shorter than my first speedrun because it got optimized to that point. But I think you can also see there's room to improve, and if you beat my time in hard, you get to say you're a better optimizer than me. So those bragging rights are on the table. You know, just saying. If you like Dawnsbury Days, I highly recommend you try out this challenge and just try to beat the game quickly. You don't need to have any elaborate setups. I do like to use LiveSplit, which is the program I'm booting up here. It will come on screen soon. There it is. And so LiveSplit you can put anywhere. And you can do keyboard things and have it like track your best times and all that, so you can see if you're ahead or behind. But like, that's auxiliary. The point of speedrunning is just you race against yourself to see yourself get better. And eventually, you may get bragging rights out of it. And I want to see Dawnsbury Days become like a mildly popular speed game, at least for like a niche community. Because I think that'd be really cool. Because I really like this game. I really like this game as a speed game. And yeah, that's it. So, video over.